The Raiders make a few roster moves in preparation for Week 6 action versus the Tennessee Titans. And after 5 games, where would you tier the silver and black? We'll have a little bit of fun on Wednesday's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast for October 8th, 2025.
You are Locked On Raiders, your daily Las Vegas Raiders podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome in, Raider Nation, to another edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Thank you so much for making the show your first listen of the day. We definitely appreciate you. If you're catching the show wherever you find your favorite podcast, or you're checking us out by way of the YouTube page, you know we appreciate both. Show grows each and every day because of your support and the great job that my man Ari does behind the scenes, making sure we look good and sound good each and every day. We shout him out. We appreciate him. He's on Twitter at Ari Produces. You can hit me up as well at your boy Q254. And we got the Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line for you, 707-654-4693. And ever since the debacle on Sunday, the beat down by the Indianapolis Colts, trust and believe, there's been plenty of calls, plenty of texts. I'll try to get to as many as possible. A lot of new booty callers and texters as well, so definitely try to get in as much as possible. Coming up in segment number 3 as we close out the show and before we officially turn the page to the Tennessee Titans. Segment number 2, we'll have a little bit of fun. And I know when a team is 1-4, you think, how in the world are you having fun? Well, look, if we don't have a little bit of fun, what are we going to do? So the Locked On Podcast Network, they came up with tiers, and not your typical tiers, tier 1 team, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, stuff like that, stuff that we have in the offseason when we start talking about quarterbacks and offenses and defenses, something that every publication does. They came up with a tier system that is a lot of fun, and really we're going to have some, we're going to, like I said, have some fun with it, kind of sum up where our teams are that we represent, and obviously me being with the Raiders, but every single one of the teams on the Locked On NFL podcast part. And so we'll do that. I'll explain all of that coming up in segment number 2. I'll let you know where I have the Raiders tiered, and of course want to get your feedback. Where would you tier them at this stage of the game? So we'll do that in segment number 2. Here in segment number 1, news and notes of the day. We'll jump right into it after I tell you about the title sponsor of the show, which is FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So off top, we'll do a little bit of housekeeping, a little bit of roster moves that the Raiders have made in preparation for Sunday's game against the Tennessee Titans, and there could still be more moves made on the way throughout the course of this week based off who's injured, who's not injured, who's ready to go, and who's not. But off top, the Raiders signed punter Brad Robbins to their practice squad. This came from Adam Schefter. Vinny Bonsignore let us know that Raiders practice squad punter Brad Robbins, by rule, the Raiders can promote him from the practice squad to the game day roster 4 times before having to sign him to the actual 53-man roster, which also means they could be flexible with A.J. Cole as far as putting him on IR, which will automatically cost him 4 games. So if his injury is a 1, 2, or 3-week injury, they have Robbins on the practice squad to cover them for that duration. So, we all know that A.J. Cole's dealing with the injury, suffered that on Sunday versus the Colts when the punt got blocked and he hurt his ankle, and Pete Carroll described that on Monday as a lower ankle injury, and he's going to try to go on Friday, try to give it a go and punt and seeing if he can go. If he can, then he'll play. If he can't, then look for punter Brad Robbins. And talking to Adam Hill on my radio show on Tuesday, he said, look, Q, I was in the locker room on Sunday following the game, and A.J.'s ankle did not look good. Right, he said he's a tough dude. He's an athlete. These guys recover a lot quicker than us getting out of bed as old men. But he says I don't think that he's going to go on Sunday. But that's just his gut feeling. Obviously, A.J. Cole will test it out on Friday, and we'll find out. So there's a good chance that Brad Robbins, a punter that is signed now to the Raiders practice squad, could be in action coming up on Sunday against the Tennessee Titans. Also, the Raiders signed linebacker John Radigan, and this is a guy that apparently his agency actually put it out on Twitter. That's how I saw it. Said, congratulations to client John Radigan signing with the Raiders active roster. So doing a little bit of research, he was a guy that was in Seattle with head coach Pete Carroll from 2021 to 2023. He's obviously taken Jermaine Pratt's spot on the 53-man roster. So doing a little bit more research, the Raiders signing John Radigan off the Steelers practice squad. He played 1 game for the Steelers, seeing 6 special team snaps in week 2. He was with the Panthers in training camp, but signed with the Steelers practice squad after the final cuts. He's played 53 total games in 5 seasons, totaling 44 tackles and a fumble recovery. He's only played 20 defensive snaps in his career, but has been a core special teams player with 1,024 snaps. So that's just lets you know exactly who John Radigan is. And it's funny because I asked Pete Carroll about special teams and the struggles that they've had. I asked him that on Monday when we met with him, and we'll meet with him again this afternoon. And he said he would like to have more defensive players on special teams. Well, there you go. You ask and you shall receive, right? So John Radigan now, a guy that is a core special team player, has been added to the Raiders special teams unit. And that's something that Eric Allen, the Hall of Famer, he mentioned as well when I was talking to him about special teams and why they've been such a struggle for the Raiders. He said, Q, these guys that are on the Raiders special teams unit, they're not veterans. The veterans that have been there, done that, don't want to run special teams right now. So a lot of the young guys that are on special teams are still learning it. It's not like they've been doing it in college for a long time because most of them have been stars. So they're just starting to figure out what they're doing on special teams, and you see all the breakdowns. You see guys being out of their lane. You see guys not wrapping up and making tackles. You just see guys making fundamental mistakes, right? Going one side of the field when they're supposed to go to the other side of the field, whatever the case may be. So now you bring in a guy like John Radigan, who that's what his job has been over 5 seasons, has been to be that special teams guy. So not saying one guy is going to fix all the special teams woes that the Raiders have, but at least it'll get a guy familiar with what he's supposed to be doing, and hopefully that unit will start to look a little bit better than it has. Real quick, wanted to give you an update on the Raiders practice squad and their schedule. Today, 12:15 to 1 o'clock, we'll talk to head coach Pete Carroll, Geno Smith, and running back Ashton Genty, and the locker room will be open at that time as well, and they'll practice starting around 1:45. That'll be open to the media. So I'll be there for Pete. I'll be there for Geno and Ashton. Won't be there for the open period when, the media is able to take pictures and tweet out stuff because I got to get ready for the radio show that starts at 2 o'clock. Also on Thursday, Patrick Graham and Chip Kelly. That's going to be from 12:20 to 1:05. And then on Friday, Pete Carroll will speak around 12:50 to 1:35, and locker room will be open at that time as well. So just wanted to give you an update on what to expect and when to expect it from the head coach, defensive coordinator Patrick Graham, and also offensive coordinator Chip Kelly. Coming up in segment number 2, let's have a little bit of fun. The Raiders are 1-4, right? Still got plenty of games to go, plenty of weeks to go. Not going to be doom and gloom. We're going to have a little bit of fun, and we're going to talk about what tier I believe the Raiders are in. And, of course, I would love your feedback as well, 707-654-4693. What tier do you believe the Raiders are in? I'll give you the categories and more coming up next in segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Before I get to that, though, I do want to tell you about the title sponsor of the show, which is FanDuel. The NFL season's here. FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. And you can use so many different ways to use FanDuel, and you could build parlays, you could do player props. That's always one that's a favorite of folks. Live lines during games, whatever it is, man. FanDuel has so many different ways for you to play and be part of the action. It actually makes watching football even more exciting when you got a little something riding on it. So whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience that much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, Raider Nation, here we go. Segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Want to have a little bit of fun today. And it's funny, this came about not from my brain, but this was something that the Locked On Podcast Network put together, and they're having a little bit of midweek fun. And look, tomorrow will be the crossover edition, so Tyler Rowland, host of Locked On Titans, and myself, we'll get together. We'll talk about storylines. We'll talk about matchups, keys to victory. Both teams that are not very good this year. Both teams are 1-4, but the Titans, at least they feel pretty good about themselves because, well, they have their franchise quarterback, and all they need is him to develop. The Raiders have a lot of questions, so we'll worry about that all coming up on tomorrow's show. So wanted to get into this, and this was presented to us on Tuesday, and I really wanted to, before I turned in my answer, I really wanted to bring it to you and get your thoughts first, but I knew that I had to have it turned in by Wednesday. So it was like I said, it was presented Tuesday afternoon, so I had no opportunity to go ahead and put out a show, get your feedback, and then give the feedback to the Locked On Podcast Network. So this is how it goes. The Raiders and every team in the National Football League are going to be put in tiers. And these are the categories: locked and loaded, any given Sunday, hope changes week to week, I'm not mad, just disappointed, injury report or CVS receipt, 2027 will be our year, and is it April yet? So those are the tiers. Those are the categories. So like I said at the top of the show, it's not tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. It's not any of that, right? It's just kind of really getting and deep diving into how the fan base is feeling about their team currently after 5 weeks in the season. Of course, the Raiders sitting there at 1-4. So clearly they're not locked and loaded. At any given Sunday, I think you could say that about a lot of teams, but I don't think that would accurately describe the Silver and Black. Hope changes week to week. I've thought about that one. I kind of went back and forth with that one a little bit because, again, it does feel like that we get hyped up. We get that feeling of belief that the Raiders are going to win, and we come up with a really good reason, and they make sense, and then for them not to. But they've got blown out multiple times in 5 weeks, so I'm thinking, you know what? Maybe there's not a lot of hope there. They haven't won since week 1. Injury report or CVS receipt, they got injuries, but it's not like they're the most injured team across the league. 2027 will be our year. That's a couple of seasons from now, so don't want to go there. And is it April yet? Refuse to go there, right? I refuse to go there. Maybe if you're the New York Jets, that's what you're talking about. And I know the Raiders only have one more win than the Jets do, but I refuse to go to is it April yet. That means that you're deep diving into the draft. You already have your eyes on who you're thinking about, and that's not where I'm at. So what I fell upon, and this was my answer, and I turned it in already, and I do want to get your feedback. I'm not mad, just disappointed. That's where I think that the Raiders' true category is, and this is the reasoning that I gave this tier for the Silver and Black. Pete Carroll was hired. This is not a brand new head coach. Pete Carroll's got many skins on the wall, has won at every level, right? College, NFL, has turned teams around from being really bad to teams that have been playoff teams, right? I mean, he's done that basically with every team that he's been on. He's got them to the playoffs, got them to the postseason. And his words, not mine, my expectations are to win a lot of games, right? They didn't embrace a rebuild. At least they didn't say that they were embracing a rebuild. They went out and traded for a quarterback at Geno Smith, a quarterback that Pete Carroll's had plenty of success with in Seattle. Gave him an opportunity to have his own team. And, oh, by the way, gave him a contract extension as well, so they didn't have to force a rookie quarterback that maybe they weren't quite in love with, especially with this last draft not being the most quarterback, friendly or quarterback sexy draft, right? Everyone said, not really. There's a couple guys here and there, but not the best draft when it comes to quarterbacks. So they gave the keys to the team. They gave it to Geno Smith to do what they do. Obviously, Brock Bowers is coming back from a great rookie year, and then you go and draft Ashton Genty, who was the best running back in all of college in 2024, right? I mean, he was a guy who easily could have won the Heisman Trophy. Obviously, that went to Travis Hunter. And only thing that we have been hearing is we're going to win a lot of games, right? And so they basically have been trying to do something that I felt was very difficult to do. Clearly it is. That's try to win and build for the future at the same time. Pete Carroll has talked about the fact that, they're going to compete at all costs. Everybody's going to have to compete for their job. Everyone's going to have to fight for it. Like, we heard all that all off season, all training camp, all preseason, right? These guys were going to be competitive. They were going to have energy. They were going to bring juice. There's nothing but competition around the building. There's basketball hoops all around the building. These guys are out there having fun. They're excited, but they're also working really hard. Like, I've seen that with my own eyes. And so my expectations were that the Raiders were never going to get blown out like they've been blown out twice in 5 weeks, right? Never thought that was going to happen. My expectations were they were going to be in every single game, and they were going to be able to, at least be close, be competitive. I know that they're not winning 17 games. I didn't say ever that they were a playoff team. I thought that this was an 8-win team, maybe 9. And if you get there, then, hey, who knows what happens after that, right? That's fine. Doubling what they did in 2024, I thought was a great first year for head coach Pete Carroll. And I know a lot of people didn't like that. A lot of people said, oh, you're settling for mediocrity. Oh, you're okay with being mediocre. Oh, you're okay with losing. No, I just know reality. And I know that winning in the NFL is hard, especially when you're in a division that's as tough as the AFC West. You had 3 teams that went to the playoffs a year ago. So my expectations never were that they were going to be a playoff team. But I did think that they were going to be a team that was going to surprise a lot of folks. They were going to be very competitive. They were going to be a tough out. It wasn't going to be the get-right game, right? Everything that we've been talking about the first 5 weeks, the Raiders weren't going to be. And unfortunately, outside of the first week of the season against New England, they have been. So, and then to hear head coach Pete Carroll on Monday say that this is actually tougher than what he thought it was going to be, that's also disappointing. Again, I'm not mad, just disappointed, because I thought that he had a better idea of where this roster was. I thought John Spytek had a better idea of where this roster was. I thought the coaches that were in place had a better idea where this roster was. But hearing comments like that from head coach Pete Carroll makes me feel like, oh, there's actually a lot more work to do here than I expected. And that to me is like, wait, hold on. How did you miss on that? Right? You're the head coach. You're the guy who's, I mean, I'm around the team enough and I see what I see, but you're around the team all the time. You're walking around the building. You're in the practice room. You're in the meeting rooms. You're you know what I mean? Like you're analyzing this thing up and down. You helped out coming up with the 53-man roster, right, at the end of training camp. So you should have a much better idea of what this roster is going to be and how good they are or how good they aren't. And then especially with Geno Smith playing as poorly as he is, I don't think anyone anticipated that. Right? Their idea and their identity last year was supposed to be a strong defense, a really good run game, and a quarterback situation that doesn't mess it up, right? That basically complements the defense and the running game. And obviously they didn't have that with Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell. He got banged up. We get that. So this year they go and make the move for Geno Smith. That's an upgrade, right? In everyone's opinion, including mine, that's an upgrade. Now not only are you going to have a strong defense that I thought was actually going to take longer to come together, you're going to have a strength of the team that's, you know, the offense, especially with Chip Kelly, a very highly paid offensive coordinator, $6 million a year, you know, a national champion coming from Ohio State. You're going to have the best, you know, offensive play calling that you've had in a long time, not predictable play calling. And then you have this upgrade at the quarterback position, and it's going to result in, well, this team's going to go out there and fight, scratch, and claw. And by the time they hit the bye week, after they play Kansas City week 7, they're probably going to be around 4 wins, which will be right on track with what I'm expecting, 9 wins probably max in 2025. Instead, they're going into week 6 with 1 win and riding a 4-game losing streak. So locked and loaded, definitely not. Any given Sunday, I guess you could consider that. Hope changes week to week. Not when you get blown out multiple times. Injury report, not going to blame anything on injury. 2027 will be our year. Not ready to go there either because it's been over 20-plus years since it's been the Raiders' year. And is it April yet? There's plenty of time for that. Now is not the time. As far as the rest of the division goes, I think you could say any given Sunday for all 3 of the teams, Chiefs, Broncos, and Chargers. Right? I don't think anyone is locked and loaded. I wouldn't say hope changes week to week for any of these teams. Injury report, not so much. 2027, no, these are playoff teams. And is it April yet? No, these are playoff teams. So I think any given Sunday is appropriate for the Chiefs, the Broncos, and the Chargers. But what tier would you put the Raiders in? Again, locked and loaded, any given Sunday. Hope changes week to week. I'm not mad, just disappointed where I put them. Injury report or CVS receipt. 2027 will be our year, or is it April yet? Let me know your thoughts. 707-654-4693. We'll hear from you as we close out the show. It's right here on the Locked On Raiders podcast.
I'm Cody Rourke from Locked On Broncos, and this episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. This is Peloton's most advanced equipment yet, giving you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or you're cross-training with your favorite instructors like Alex Toussaint. It's training reimagined to make your workout more personal. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with features that help you plan, stay motivated, and hit peak performance. You can let yourself run, lift, flex, and go while Peloton handles all the rest. Plus, Peloton IQ provides real-time strength coaching, tracking your progress and suggesting weights that challenge you so you can get stronger. Plus, the new movement tracking camera, it counts your reps and corrects your form in real time, making sure every rep is safer and smarter. So let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
Here we go, Raider Nation. Segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Your calls and texts off that Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line, 707-654-4693. Let's start things off with Border Jumping Raider. My brother, man, he's a day one OG, man. Been around for a long time. Met him at the last game at the Oakland Coliseum versus the Jacksonville Jaguars when we had that big Locked On Raider podcast tailgate. It was incredible. Met a lot of great people there that day, people that I still associate with to this day. So definitely appreciate you for that. And again, Border Jumping Raider is definitely one of them. He's calling to talk about what he heard from head coach Pete Carroll on Monday in his press conference. Here he is, Border Jumping Raider.
Q. Your boy, Border Jumping Raider. You know I'm a big fan, Q. I'm one of those fans that is always like, calls every 3 months or whatever, peeking through the bushes, as an analogy, peeking through the bushes, and watching your show from on the outside looking in. And I dig it. I don't miss a podcast. And I and I listen quite often. I think I missed the first hour of your show because it starts at 2, but I get out at 3, and then I catch you for the ride home. And anyways, so I was kind of puzzled with a statement by Pete Carroll. He says, well, you know, what are you going to do now, Pete? And in the press conference, I'm not going to quote me on all these who said it and how it was said. He said, so what are we going to do now? What's up for next week? And then he says, well, we're just going to keep trying, go with Gino. We're going to keep trying and trying until he gets it. Q, but what if he never gets it? What if he never gets it? All right, Q, border jumper Raider, I'm out.
Border jumping, man. Thank you, my brother, for calling in. Definitely appreciate hearing from you. And like I said a week ago or so, when asked if Pete would sit Gino down, I don't think so. Right? I just don't think that that's coming anytime soon. As I talked about on yesterday's show, possibly if he continues to stink it up, maybe after or during the bye week, they'd make that move just because they have an opportunity to go with, a couple more, get some more reps under Kenny Pickett's belt and kind of get him up to speed on what he needs to do, Chip Kelly's offense, and get up to speed with different players. Maybe then. But even then, it would kind of surprise me. I actually had a guy who's an Eagle fan call into my radio show on Raider Nation Radio 920 and was cutting for Kenny Pickett. And he was mad. Like, he started to say it with his chest. I'm like, oh, man, slow down. Slow your roll. Like, you ain't got to yell at me. Just all right, Kenny Pickett's your guy. I get that. I don't see the Raiders making a move to Kenny Pickett anytime soon. But obviously, if Gino keeps stinking it up and throwing multiple interceptions per game, at some point, the hand will be forced to Pete Carroll to make a move. But I just don't think that's in the current plans. But thanks so much for the call. Definitely appreciate you. Up next, got a text from Sparky00. AQ, I'm sending this from the East Coast of Canada. Been a Raider fan since Lyle Alzado days, and this is the worst team I've seen. I believe that we're going through what Denver dealt with after McDaniels partially. Geno Smith is playing like, when he was with the Jets. He's trying to put balls where he shouldn't, and it's cost us at least 2 games so far. I'm disappointed with the coaching staff as well. They don't seem to know their players. I may not watch the games anymore, but I'll continue to tune into you and others to hear what's happening and hope they can turn things around. That's Sparky00. Thanks so much for the text. I appreciate you. And yeah, I'm pretty sure you're probably going to tune in because it's hard, man. It's easy to say that you're not going to, and I understand why you'd say you're not going to, but it's really hard, man, because it just gets us caught up every time. There's only a handful of these games. We wait all year for them to come around, so I'm sure that you're going to want to tune in. But when you say that you're disappointed, that goes back to the tier that I just talked about, right? Disappointment. I think that's what it is. I'm not mad either. I'm not mad. I don't think you're mad. I think you're more disappointed because you expected more. The expectations were higher for this team in 2025, and I don't think any of us believed that this team was some, Super Bowl contender, AFC West division champ. None of that, but you wanted more. And like you said, Geno trying to squeeze the ball into places he shouldn't. He got away with it week 1, and so he kept doing it, and now it's habit forming, and that's what he's doing. And that has cost the Raiders multiple games, right? I think you could say it cost the Raiders the Chargers game, all those turnovers. You could say it cost them the Bears game, all those turnovers. And it's unfortunate, right? It's unfortunate that he's playing at the level that he is. Now, week 3 against Washington and obviously last week against Indianapolis, those were 2 blowouts. So even his turnovers probably didn't just cost him the game, but it sure didn't help. That's for sure. Thanks so much for the text. Definitely appreciate you. Up next, got a call from Jay, a.k.a. San Francisco Raider. He's calling in to talk about and ask about a quarterback that's not named Geno Smith or Kenny Pickett. Here he is, Jay, a.k.a. San Francisco Raider.
Hey, Q. This is Jay, San Francisco Raider, longtime listener, first-time caller. Been listening to you guys, you and Ari, for a while now. I love it. With regards to the quarterback situation with Geno not doing well and everybody saying Kenny Pickett's not better and Aiden hurt, shouldn't the Raiders consider bringing up Cam Miller from the active roster? I mean, seems like it would make a lot of sense right now. All right, man. Take care. Go Raiders.
Big J, thanks for the call. Appreciate you listening, supporting the show, and calling in, man. Hopefully this is not your last time that you call in. As far as Cam Miller goes, you might see him added to the active roster like the last month of the season, the last 4 games. You might see him get into action the last 2 games if they want to see him and see what they have in him, right? I'm not convinced that you're going to see him at all this year, to be honest. I could see him sitting on the practice squad all year long. I don't think that they're willing to go there. He's definitely not ready anytime soon as far as I'm concerned. But if the season's long gone and it's they're 3 and whatever, like 3 and say, what would it be? 12, 15. So like 3 and 12, and they played 15 games. I can see him maybe playing the last two games just to see what they got in them. right? That's the Giants and Kansas City. I could see them go ahead and doing something like that. But, yeah, don't expect to see Cam Miller anytime soon. I think reality is the Raiders know that they need a franchise quarterback. He's not on the team right now, right? It's not Geno. Geno's here for, the short time and a fun time, not necessarily a long time. Cam Miller, maybe he develops into something. Who knows? Kenny Pickett, I know they traded for him, but he's in the last year of his deal, so he doesn't necessarily have to be back next year. Aiden O'Connell, right? I mean, every time he's had an opportunity, he gets injured, and he's injured right now. Maybe he comes back and things look great with him, but like I said, my gut feeling is the Raiders franchise quarterback is not on the roster at this stage of the game. Thanks so much for the call. Definitely appreciate you. How about this text? We'll close out for this text with from Reasonable Raider. Q, sir, this is Reasonable Raider again. We have been through this type of season before, and of course, I don't enjoy it, but I'm also not upset about it. I thought this was a different year going in with Uncle Pete because of his history with creating stability, and he's turning out to be the old man that knows everything and can't be taught anything new. This feels like Al Davis again in his older years. Know-it-all. Also, I was not a fan of the Chip Kelly hire because of his history, his lack of team stability, and continuity of player relationships. What stings is having the normal experience of our season is over by week 5. I wait for the season to start all year long. I talk S to everybody about our Raiders with no F's given, and I always want to stand so proud after every loss, but not just losses, though, non-competitive losses, which makes it worse. I center my weekends around watching my favorite TV show, The Raiders Game, and they disappoint most of the time. I believe this season is not salvageable regarding playoffs and meaningful games. We are relegated to watching solely for improvements from the players and the system at large at this point. I'm a fan of the Shield first, so trade whoever, sign whoever, just get it right for the fans. Give us something to be proud of when we go to the water cooler at work, when we go to the bar to watch the games. Just simply having dialogue with other fans about our performance. We do not expect Super Bowls at this point, but dang, can we at least get close games in the losses? Give me some nail biters at least, some shoulda, coulda, wouldas at minimum. Thank you for your time and your passion for your job. It means a lot to the fans that you and your team put in as much work as you do. I'll be back next week. That's Reasonable Raider. I think that sums up a great text. I'm sure that sums up how a lot of Raider Nation feels. I think it also sums up the tier that I put the Raiders in segment number 2. I'm not mad, but I'm disappointed for everything that you said, from Pete Carroll to Chip Kelly to the defense not stepping up, and when it does step up, then the offense can't step up. Like, I feel like that really summarized it, and Raider Nation always gets fired up. Raider Nation gets excited. Being out there at training camp, a lot of fans were able to come out. I met a lot of fans, were able to talk to them. Everyone was, juiced, amped, excited. I meet guys and folks at Allegiant Stadium all the time at the Torch. Everyone is so fired up and pumped up, spending their money to go to the game, spending their money on hotels, airfare, whatever the case may be, coming in from all over the place, and then a disappointment, like you said. That's why I said I'm not mad, just disappointed. That's a tier that I put the Raiders in. So thanks so much for that text. I do appreciate you. And we'll go ahead and close out with a call from Avery in Oakland. Sorry, Ari. He's calling to give his honest assessment of what this Raiders team is after 5 weeks. Here's Avery in Oakland.
Hey, Q, what up, man? This is Avery in Oakland. And I just got to give my honest opinion. I feel like we all have seen what we have in this team, and we suck. You know what I mean? If we score a touchdown on one drive, we're going to be punting on the next. If we win one week, we'll lose the next. And I think we're all just in denial. I think we all want them to do so well. We just holding on to hope, hoping that they go out there and play well. But they've been showing us who they are since week 2, and we gotta believe them. We gotta believe them. Love what you're doing, man. That's just my take on it. I'd be surprised if we win 4 games this year, but I'm gonna still watch them because that's my team. But I'd be surprised if we go 4 games this year. But love what you're doing, brother. Later.
Avery, thanks so much for the call, my man. Yeah, I think the loss week 2, it was okay. It was somewhat expected. Week 3 beatdown was not okay, but Pete Carroll put that on him, right? It was week 4 against the Bears. That was a game that the Raiders should have lost. And then obviously getting taken to the woodshed and getting beat, getting the brakes beat off you on Sunday versus the Colts, that was truly embarrassing. So, it's a reality check, right? It's a harsh one. I don't think any of us expected this team to look like this. 4 wins this season would be a kick in the stones as far as I'm concerned after going 4-13 a season ago. And everyone's saying that, AP was awful, and I'm not saying he was good, but that's what he got was 4 wins. If this team only manages 4 wins, everyone's going to look and say, well, what was all that for? What was all the turnaround for? What was all the turnover for? So it's a rough way to go. It's a rough way to feel, that's for sure. It is trending that way as they only have 1 win through 5 weeks, with Tennessee coming up and then Kansas City and then the bye week. So hopefully they find a way to get things turned around. It's still early. They got plenty of games, but as they say, as the smart folks say, it gets late early, and it's getting late very early for the silver and black. So that's going to do it for today's show. Definitely appreciate that call and all the feedback. We have the crossover edition coming up tomorrow. Tyler Rowland, Locked On Titans. He does a fantastic job. He'll join the show. We'll talk about storylines, matchups, and keys to victory. They're 1-4. The Raiders are 1-4. Something's got to give. We'll talk about it. We'll break it down coming up on tomorrow's show. So until then, Raider Nation, take care of yourself. Take care of your family. Love on your family. Most importantly, as always, just win, baby.